can start talking about digital transformation, what this means in the tech world, in the context of companies like, Atlassian, Google, what does it mean for them? And then we can go in detail about some of the bots or digital assistants that we will end up building for our businesses. What do you mean by business though? These are traditional functions within the company like sales, marketing. And then we can also talk about what it means to go to an automation maturity. What are the steps that are going to be involved to getting you there? And you go to the next realm of building bots, not just for business, but bots for all. And finally, we'll cap it off with our discussions on GPT and intelligent automation and what that means in this new space. Let me briefly touch upon digital transformations. What does it mean though? Basically there is an ever-growing, ever fast-paced technology changes that are happening, but there is also changes in business processes and culture. So we kind of need to focus on reimagining the business in this digital era, and those are called digital transformations. It could be when we moved over from paper to everything in software systems, or it could be upgrading your current systems and processes to meet the latest trends and technologies. But aren't software companies supposed to be ahead of this? Don't we have the tools? Aren't these typically associated with these big banking and retail and healthcare industries? You would think that we've made the right investments in the right time to get this in there. But unfortunately, the reality is that companies invest a lot in time and resources in building new products and capturing new markets and capturing new experiences. But what ends up happening is you are left with a disjointed set of processes. And the reason why we need to make these investments to keep up to date is basically we need to focus on digital transformations, which are born at the fulcrum of these three different upshots. There are inefficient process cesspools, there are broken customer touchpoints, and failed attempts at operational efficiencies. Basically, technology has brought a lot of tools, but it's also sometimes become too complex for the business to handle this. And this is kind of where in 2021, I think Gartner did a survey and found out that many CEOs and board of directors, they want to move faster, meaning ship things faster, but they also want operational efficiency, which are two different things, right? To address these two, I would say, oxymoron type of a requirement, intelligent automation seemed like a great idea. And we can talk a bit more about what this means. Basically, is automation really intelligent? Can intelligence really be automated? That was one of the very first questions that I asked my manager. And he kind of explained it in a way, and I want to put this together. Basically, the agenda of enterprises across the globe, there has been a big upshot in looking at investing in the right set of tools to move them faster. But what used to be a strategy at a C-suite level has become a reality with a whole bunch of tools that are available in the market. You may also refer to this term as hyper-automation, and you've heard some of these tools being used in the industry. But intelligent automation sort of over-encompasses and kinds of builds all of these tools together in this single forum to help realize what your business problems are. Basically, it starts with including your AI, ML machine models, using your low-code technologies, having an event-driven architecture, and having an intelligent business process management tools all put together in one umbrella. And that's what we call as intelligent automation. In Atlassian, we kind of took it a little step further ahead to build on top of our native platform as a service, which is called Micros, which is a native platform as a service that Atlassian has built over time on top of AWS resources using Docker images. Let me showcase a bit more on what that architecture would look like. So what do we do with these platforms and tools that are available out there? You end up building digital assistants, basically business bots. What are digital assistants? And they are not necessarily enterprise application or software. They're lean and mean, and they can have conversational capability. They can be invoked at will. They can be retired or easily replaced as well. Basically, think of business bots as digital assistants for various functions that you'll have within your company. And these will typically become intangible assets reported by the business themselves over a period of time. So as you can see, there is a conglomeration of business bots. You can have a customer support bot talking to a sales bot which can talk to a finance bot and an offer letter bot, just like you would, like a real person would do, right? You reach your finance person, will reach your salesperson, and then the HR person might have to reach a marketing person. So these are the typical business functions that every company does, and and we really need to kind of with the pace at which the market is growing, the pace at which the businesses are evolving, we really need to do a lot of investments fundamentally, and automation becomes a foundational capability at this point. And that's what these intelligent automation platforms are providing, the tools and ability to build these services and reimagining how business is done the way it is. So where does this all fit in? Most companies tend to have what we call as business value chains. What does that mean? Basically, this is how the various business fits within the company's ecosystems. Why is this so critical? Because a value chain is just a business model that can help you realize your product or a process through a set of series of actions that they do. Most of the business functions that we talked about are sort of embedded in this, and this concept is not native only to Atlassian. It's true for every company that you see out there. You start off with a product, and then you need to conceptualize it, then you need to market it, you need to find new leads, and then that kind of helps bring your customer base, and then you need to reach out to customers to give them the quoting, and then you end up basically getting the cash, which is kind of where every company focuses on, making money out of the products that you make. And there are also other ecosystems chains, like if a customer reaches out to you for an issue, how that gets resolved, and then there are whole other practices in the HR world where you kind of retain to grow, and then you also plan to exit. So these are typical value chains that most companies end up having. And so it's important to understand the context of where the business bots typically sort of lie in this ecosystem. So in our particular case today, I want to talk about the quote to cash, and which is sort of not in the best diagrams, but the blockchains that we have over here. Basically what happens in a quote to cash system is you basically open a quote, you end up doing some addition of products, and then you determine the price, you determine what the tax and invoices is going to be, and send it back to the customer. And the customer wants it, they kind of get it. This is a better picture anyway. So once the customer gets the quote, they realize that's what they need. They end up placing the order. So you have another bot doing the provisioning for the services that they asked, and then creating an invoice and send it to the finance bots. And then the finance bots again sends it back to the customer, and then you have like a closed system over here, and then you process the payment. And when the customer has an issue, they reach out to technical support, and they end up, again, let's say some sites has been reactivated, they need some help, or they need to cancel something. So this is kind of how the whole ecosystem of how a customer engages with companies. And this basically puts us in a space where these processes have to be super efficient, they have to be scalable as then when the customer base grows, and the markets need to be very agile, and the technology needs to support all of that. So the investment in intelligent automation as a foundational capability is super important in realizing a lot of these processes that are typically repetitive, manual, and a lot of back and forth that needs to happen. And technology advancements have kind of enabled us to sort of get into, and this is kind of typical bot architecture and how Atlassian has reimagined this. We start off these processes with a trigger with Jira. I'm sure most of you know that. Jira is a great work management tool, workflow tool, or sometimes even Slack. And we basically have an ecosystem in Micros, that is our native platform as a service. And then we kind of talk to a centralized business process management tool, which is an intelligent business process management tool powered by Camunda. I'm not sure you guys can see it very clearly, but a bunch of pieces that kind of talk to our internal systems. And for any UI automation, you take advantage of tools that are provided by RPA providers like UiPath, and you also can do your task automation with low-code, no-code tools such as Workado, and you basically kind of take advantage of all the observability platforms. Why was this important part in this conversation? When you first start out your automation programs, you typically choose a single technology. You do what's needed for a particular business function. And over a period of time, you would see that the systems that they connect would be different, the processes might be different, but the overall architecting of it needs a centralized approach. And this is where a center of excellence kind of comes into play, because you standardize these functionalities with using some of the native tools that we already built within the company. You use your common loggers, common error handlers, common observability platforms that you've already rolled out, on which Jira and Confluence and all of our native products are built. You take advantage of all of these signal effects and all the integrations that are already in place, and then plug and play these new technologies that you have brought in to create an ecosystem of a standardized broad production. And that's kind of where you realize the benefits of marrying all of these technology under a single umbrella. And it's important to kind of do your experiments and learn and kind of practice this over a period of time to get to a state of maturity. And so what this has basically helped us achieve, and I will call out some of the success metrics that we have done in the last few years, is as part of one of the financial year, we were able to automate around 100,000 hours. And then our customer advocates, which is a service that helps our customers and partners, we've automated 35% of their ticket volume. We've reduced the initial response time to less than 3 minutes, because you connect your Jira to your Stream Hub collector. You don't need to wait for the bots to run on a schedule, but you can just respond back immediately. And we've also sort of reduced our employee onboarding time less than two days. And there are multiple other business functions in which we have realized a lot of business values. So the importance of this is, once you set up automation program and scale it, what does it mean? What does an automation maturity mean? And I want to talk about that in a minute. So many companies go through this trajectory of setting it up and establishing it and expanding and scaling up. I think we're very comfortable when we set up the COE and started gaining a lot of ROIs for the investments that we had made in the platform and the people. But what we ended up running into was it's not scalable enough at the company level when there are a lot of requests that comes from business which doesn't have a great value add. So how do you do that? That's kind of where you have to reimagine your automation program to think about federating a lot of the native knowledge that you have across to the business. Our business technologists or citizen developers, as we call them, are they really equipped enough to use these technologies the way niche RPA skilled engineers are there, or intelligent automation skilled? Probably not. That is again another journey that typically most companies ends up. While the possibility of these technologies can help you unlock your automation capabilities that you need, and you're not constrained by a centralized team, what ends up happening is you need to educate them. You need to bring them along the journey. You need to kind of make it low touch, and it cannot be such high touch engagements that you first started out with. And so eventually you become to a sustaining, mature automation model, and it can be helpful in your business transformations, not just a process efficiency. So you move the needle from just being hey, I don't need to do this work every day, 10 times a day. Can I get a bot to do this? It becomes very instrumental in some of the key business transformations. Like recently, we did a migration in our ERP systems from NetSuite to Oracle. Some of these business bots that we had done has helped them move the needle a lot. So that's when it gets critical, and how it can help the company transform itself. And so what does this mean? And I spoke with you, and this is just a GIF. So eventually what we realized is having a centralized model and a centralized team building automations for the company is not going to be sustainable. What we needed to do was to enable all of our citizen developers and all of our businesses to build bots on their own. And during our discovery, we also realized that it makes sense to not keep all the native knowledge within the team, to kind of spread it across. So we started building our own internal marketplace with a lot of reusable artifacts with boilerplate templates that are easy for any user to come and set it up on their machine to have their own digital assistant. And what this has enabled is the governance is already taken care of. The necessary connections and connectors that you need to are already taken care of. All you need to do is come, put a bot that is already out there, put it on your system, run it daily, just configure it to the system that you want. If you want to build that needs to remind you of a PR, you can have that. And so this is when automation becomes a lot more scalable, and the benefits of it can be reaped across the company rather than keeping it in a centralized location. So it's very important to kind of move from a federated business model to a self-serve model as well, so that the onus is on the technologists to continue the journey and reap benefits of all the platforms that are being provided. So that's when we thought we had probably matured our journey. In comes a tsunami called GPT. And we want to slightly tackle this in a different way. Is GPT with its current form, especially ChatGPT, which is conversational capability, which is contextual ability to understand the queries, how can it complement automation? It's a very critical question, right? It almost seems like a competing technology rather than a complementary technology. Well, it's not. And I'll tell you why. Because in typical use cases that are involving customer service especially, the automation will only reach to a certain point. You're still going to need a human to intervene and kind of make the decision for you. Because many times customer will just say, hey, that code did not work for me. Can you send me another one? I mean, you can still use native NLP capability to understand what the customer is asking, but half the time, more than half the time, it eventually ends up with routing it back to an actual human agent. So in the context of that, I think IA and GPT are actually very complementary technologies, and I can show you some of the use cases where we are trying to reimagine within Atlassian. So we spoke about content creation. So you have Confluence. It's going to help you, take notes. It's going to help you create, content that you want to post for social media, or it might even help you create your own vision, mission, OKR statement. I mean, who wants to spend a lot of their time and energy in that, right? Like, look at your pages and figure out a new way that Confluence can be inbuilt with an editor that can help you achieve that. Contract management is again a space that I feel that it's very niche and not very explored. Again, GPT is going to help us, realize a lot of the existing problems with contract management. With marrying your OCR with GPT technology is going to help you realize many of those roadblocks that are there. Customer service automation, which we talked about, which will also take a deeper look in the minute. And there are also use cases that we are seeing from processing unstructured data and making sense of what the data means. So these are some of the GPT automation use cases where you could kind of marry existing automation technology with the current LLM capability models that are out there and reap the benefits within the company. So in the customer service space, and I want to kind of talk about a bit more in a difference between a chatbot and a digital assistant and virtual agents. We all know this. We all have experienced some form of it in your company, right? But there is a distinction between these three. And especially when you come to chatbot, it's like it's a messenger that can help you, connect with a real agent on the other side. Maybe it'll give you a bunch of questions that you need to. It's still very much rules based, because once you sort of expired all your options in the options that are provided, you are going to be connected to an actual human agent who's going to provide you the queries that you ask for. What is a virtual agent though? So this is more you could think of as a helper. That, let's say, it's an internal helper tool that your IT team typically engages, which again is a rules-based. You can do a bunch of queries, train that virtual agent to kind of answer these queries in the way that you want it. And we spoke about the digital assistants, and Susie, one of our customer bot, has done this, and it's actually a real customer comment which said oh, that was amazing that you just gave me a code within a couple of minutes. So it's important to sort of understand all of these in the context of GPT, because all you're going to end up is you're going to have chatbots that can be powered by digital assistants in the background using GPT's highly evolutional learning capabilities and discerning capabilities. And you can also think of virtual agents that you typical internal tools that are out there that is going to help you, make your IT access a lot faster and IT problems a lot faster. So this is kind of where I think automation and the latest technologies can come together to give a more tangible solution for the industry. So let's talk about this one. When a customer is sending a request, and with the latest Atlassian intelligence, as we call it, when we marry these together, what it does is it does an intent matching. what you would have done traditionally would have to train these bots to tell which call flows that they need to go to. And once you have an intent matching and the confidence is pretty high, you kind of enter into that particular conversational workflow that's already been set up. What about when the confidence is not so great? What do you do then? You basically end up going to, figuring things out internally within your Confluence pages, figuring out answers in your search KBs, knowledge articles, and kind of bring a more, I would say, informed decision or informed answers to your queries that are being asked there. So this is kind of this is where we think JSM's virtual agent, which is going to be, can you guys see this? Okay. Not so much. Okay, all it does is a person is coming to their internal Slack threads and asking for a question, and since you've married your LLM models to this, it can understand any spelling mistakes. It doesn't need to worry about any mistakes that you make, but it can understand the context and give you the right set of questions that is intended to. And it can also understand your emotions. So when you say, I'm really frustrated, give me the access to my VPN. So it ends up kind of providing you the answers that are more human-like. And this has been our evolution in getting here. It's taken us a long time to get here. And we are only almost at, I would say, tip of the iceberg. There is much more that is possible. And what we see in marrying a bunch of these automations with a understanding and capability is going to invoke companies to reimagine customer services, the way they do their business, and kind of reap the benefits from all of these new technologies that are out there. I do have a longer video, and people, if you are interested, I can show you that demo. I didn't want to take up all the time just talking. So I kind of want to pause this here to ask for any questions that you may. This is our brand new capability that Atlassian is introducing. It's called the JSM Virtual Agent. It's available as part of all of your programs. And if your company is reimagining their IT solutions, that they can take advantage of it. And if you have your own disturbed channels, as we call it, or internal tools that you want to reimagine, you can also take advantages of some of these to build it locally on your own systems. Thank you.